Hey guys, yeah, we're starting our live video. So let's see who is there. Okay. So just to give you a short brief what's going to happen today. So we are continuing our art talks. So every week I invite a different artist and we discuss the current situation, how they're coping with the lockdown. So what new they're creating, any new artworks. So, and today, actually it's afternoon, we have a fabulous lady. She's not only gorgeous, but she's very talented. Nat Bowen. She's a British artist. She lives in London and she works with pigmented resin. You know, I love resin myself. And she uses recycled sheet to create her colorful artworks. Her style is based on Chromology, a color analysis about how our brain perceives colors and responds to it. I think in a current situation, it's so important to look at something that helps you feel better and happier. And that's what Nat art is about. So let's talk to her and find out more about her creative approach, about the impact of social isolation and how is she doing. So let's see. Let's add Nat to our chat. Hello.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
So first of all, should I call you Nat or what is your
Nat. So my name, sorry, I'm just going to turn the volume up a bit. I am a Natalie, so very close to your name. But all my friends have called me Nat all my life, so I use it as my professional name as well. So yeah, call me Nat.
Okay, great. So how are you coping during the self-isolation? Do you get a time to spend in the studio?
So actually just before we went into lockdown, I had moved studio. Literally that week we went into lockdown, I'd moved everything from my studio, which was in South West London, over to West London, nearer where I live, and a bigger space. And so I'd got everything set up there. I was ready to go, start on some new pieces. And then obviously this situation happened and we went into lockdown. So I ran down to the studio, grabbed all my materials, my resin, whatever I could, some of my canvases to paint on, and I got them all back home. Fortunately, me and my fiance had moved house not long before, and we've got a bit more space than where we were before. So I've basically taken over the living room, and there's just, I'll show you around in a minute, but there's just paintings everywhere. So fortunately, I'm very lucky that I have been able to continue to paint through lockdown. Because I do think it's such an important part of my lifestyle and such an important part of my well-being to be able to be creative. So I'm so grateful that I have been able to continue from home. Also, everyone in lockdown seems to be seeking out art. I think it's one of those things at the moment.
Tell me more about
Oh
that.
my gosh, honestly, it's I've never had so many people message me, either with just positive messages saying your art, seeing your art every day on Instagram, it really raises my mood. I love following you. I love seeing your stories from home. And then also people that are buying my work, collectors from literally all over the world. I mean, every continent, I think, has bought some of my paintings recently. And it's so amazing to think that my work and my message is reaching all of these people globally. And I do think, I feel like we're almost uniting at the moment, and things like art, and other things like music and literature, all these things I think are bringing people together.
So do you think the lockdown like affected your art practice? Maybe the colors that you choose? Like what colors
Yeah,
are associated in 2020?
I know. Well, we all went in, I think we all went into 2020 with this like positive view. I'm not sure why. I don't know whether it's just visually 2020 looks like such the year, you know, it was going to be a great year. I think a lot of my friends were taking on new things in their life. I was due to get married this year and that's gone on hold. So there was like a lot that was supposed to happen. But, you know, we sometimes get thrown these things in life and we have to perhaps change our path sometimes. And I actually think it can be a positive thing because it takes us out of our comfort zones. So before lockdown, not that I'd got in a rut, but I had a steady flow of commissions coming in, but I hadn't tried anything new in a few months. And I had a lot of ideas that I'd been working on in my head more than anything that I really wanted to implement. And I think when we went into lockdown, initially I was a bit panicked. I was like, oh my gosh, you know, what if I can't continue to paint? What if I'm not feeling inspired? What if I can't get the setup right at home? Because resin is a very particular medium to work with, and you have to have certain environment conditions for it to work. So I was worried. Yeah, I was like, what if I can't get the environment right? You have to have a certain temperature. It has to be a dust-free zone. All these things. Anyway, once all of that was kind of resolved, it then opened up this like possibility to try something new. So I launched a series called Fragments, which
are small pieces.
The smaller pieces, and this
is it like your answer to the lockdown?
Yeah, it is. And I think it's something that a lot of people had said to me in the past, because I do paint large scale. This piece behind me here, it's 1.5 meters square, so it's big. And not everybody has that sort of space. Also, not everybody wants large artwork. A lot of people I've seen on Instagram are curating these walls at home of different artworks from lots of different artists. And I think sometimes it's nice to have these smaller pieces that will sit alongside other people's work. And the wall as a whole almost becomes the artwork. So it was an idea that I had been thinking about for months and months. And then finally I was like, now's the time to try this. I'm going to try smaller works. And so I called them Fragments because they're essentially taking smaller sections of my larger scale. So if you were to like take a small section of a large piece like this, what would that look like? Rather than it being a mini version of my painting.
Some people, they would love to own your artwork, but don't have space, can't afford a big piece. And like,
and I wanted it to be accessible to everybody in terms of space. You know, the cost of works, my large scale works are more expensive, and resin's not a cheap medium. You know, they take a very long time. They take months to paint the large scale ones. So it was kind of
apply different layers, correct?
Sorry?
So you apply different layers. So
yeah, so I paint, I will give you a little tour in a moment and explain a bit more, but I paint layer upon layer and I build up the color with the layers. In fact, should I show you now?
Yeah, it would be great.
Yeah. And then maybe more of what I'm saying
exactly
makes sense.
Yeah, what we are talking about.
Yeah, so you can kind of see the scale of this one behind. So let me just spin you around. There's a lot going on in this room. So there's this piece, like I said, it's 1.5 meters square. Somebody has actually acquired this piece for their countryside home in the UK. So that will be sent to them shortly, but it's currently hanging on my wall. Here are some pieces that I'm working on. Oh, over here,
I think that is like a black hole or something, no?
Yeah, this is a commission piece in the style of my black hole piece. So that's the beginnings of it. And then these are some of my fragments. These were, so I do fragments by you as well, where collectors can bespoke their artwork. So they can go on my website, natbowen.com, and they can choose what frame color they want, what shapes they want in their artwork, what colors they want. So it's the idea of commissioning an artwork, but in a, sorry, they've still got tape on the edges from They're just waiting to get boxed up, so I haven't taken the tape off yet. So it's this idea that you can commission an artwork, but in a more digital and contemporary way. Actually, this is a piano that I bought during lockdown. Again, what I was saying about music, I used to play when I was younger. I started playing when I was 4, and I just felt really inspired to start playing again. And I think that is something that's come through this isolation period, is finding those creative outlets, which isn't necessarily just painting for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then over here, I've got a few more fragments on the go, some fragments that are in the style of the black hole piece. This is a piece that's part of my personal collection, which is called Summer 76, which is the summer of 76 was when my parents got married, and it was known as one of the hottest summers ever in history, and people of my parents' generation talk about that summer all the time and it being very memorable. And I can't help but think we'll be doing the same about 2020, because although, you know, there's a lot of things going on at the moment, but there are also some positive things. You know, we've had incredible weather, and I think it's been so uplifting for people in isolation to be able to, you know, have the natural light of sunshine coming in. And then over here, hang on, let me get a better position for this. Over here, this was a piece that was due to be shown in Saint-Tropez.
Yeah, to the art show, you were supposed to have an exhibition.
Yeah, so it was a new gallery, Gallery Paul Jansen. It's owned by a married couple, and they had come over to see my work at the beginning of 2020, and they wanted to represent me down in Saint-Tropez. And Saint-Tropez is one of these places that really means a lot to me, because we used to holiday there a lot as kids. We used to stay in a place called Port Grimaud, which is just next to Saint-Tropez, and it's this really cute place with all these different coloured buildings, and the light down in the south of France is just amazing. You get like this almost like golden hue. It's almost like looking like putting a filter on a photograph, but you get it from the sunshine there, and it's just one of those places that really inspires me with that. Like if I think of Saint-Tropez, South of France, Provence, you think of all those like warm tones, these kind of like oranges, that kind of glow. So yeah, sadly the gallery had to close for obvious reasons, but I will pick up again with them at some point. And what about you? I know you were supposed to be doing.
We have a show in June. Yes, I planned in Unity. Unfortunately, I have to postpone. I don't even know which date to pick. At the moment, I think it will be middle of November. I hope the situation will clear up till that time, but I'm sure all artists are kind of in situation. We don't know, like, have a next show or.
Yeah, I mean, I'm supposed to be showing. I showed at the at the Saatchi Gallery last September, and I'm due to show there again this year. And it looks like it's all still going ahead, but it's still really difficult to make plans at the moment. I think my advice to artists is don't worry too much about whether shows are going to go ahead or not. I think the most important thing at the moment is to still be creating if you can. If you haven't got the space at home to paint, do things, you know, you can be sketching ideas. You can. I spend a lot of time just sitting on a chair thinking as well, and I think it's so important as an artist to allow yourself that time and space to just think in your head, because so often there's so many other things going on that that creativity can be stunted a little bit when you're focusing on, oh, I've got to send that now, I've got to send that invoice, I've got to, you know, order some more resin. Sometimes you just got to have that stillness, and that's when the best ideas can flow.
I learned that you started first painting as a therapy. How did it happen? Did it become your full-time job. How did it happen and when?
Yeah. So I've always been a creative person. My parents are creative, especially my mum. She studied jewelry design and she became a design and graphics teacher. And it's very much within my family. I've got two sisters, they're both also creative. And so it's one of those things that's always been within me. As a kid, I would be creating all the time, anything I could get my hands on, I'd make something with it. And I actually studied fashion design. I moved to London from the Midlands to go to London College of Fashion, where I did women's wear design. And I started out in the fashion industry. And then I don't know, there was, I wanted to move away from that. I think it was because I could see how fast fashion was becoming, and that actually some of the creativity was being taken away from it because it was this mass consumption of product. Property development for high-end property developers in London, and they do these amazing apartments, and I started to see how art was being placed in these amazing spaces. Anyway, I decided to leave that position because I was in an office for that job, and I realized that I'm not an office person. I can't do it. I'm not really good at with structure either. I like the freedom to, if I feel like painting, I paint. If I don't, I kind of apply that to lots of aspects of my life.
Or you just come to the studio every day and then you just start to do something? And
yeah, and I think what I'd say to artists as well is, if you don't feel like doing it, don't do it. So there are some days where I know I should be painting because, you know, it might be a commission piece and they need it by a certain date. But if you don't feel in the right mindset, don't do it. Do something else and come back to it. And like I said, I apply this. Sorry?
Things can go wrong.
That's exactly the reason why you shouldn't do it, because you will make mistakes, especially if I'm overtired. I know it's always a bad decision because things will go wrong, and then you spend longer in doing it. So you've really got to listen to yourself. So yeah, anyway, I had left that position in property development, and I knew I had to go back to doing something creative, more so for my own well-being. Whether I didn't know whether I could turn it into a professional career or not at that point. I just knew it was something I had to do, and if I wasn't being creative, I wasn't living life in the way that I knew I should be living. So I did start painting, and as soon as I started, sorry?
Self-taught, which is more amazing, you're a self-taught resin artist. How did it happen? You were watching like YouTube videos, tutorials on internet?
Sorry, I missed that. What did you?
I have a fashion background, but still to learn how to use resin is not an easy experience.
Yeah, I think when you are a creative though, you can kind of apply your hand to lots of different ways of being creative. So I actually do really relate my fashion background to what I do today. So I think my understanding of color, my understanding of texture, my understanding of the layering of color, I can totally relate that to how I would create clothing and how you might layer a certain fabric against another one. And build the texture, how you can create an overall look with colour in fashion. And I do definitely think there's a connection there. In fact, as my graduate degree showed at university, I had taken a Jackson Pollock artwork and I manipulated the artwork into a digital print that I then printed on fabric. And for me, I totally make that connection, especially with abstract art and like print, whether it be on fabric, on clothing, on a wall, on an interior fabric. I think there is definitely correlations between, you know, design, art, fashion. So yeah, for me, it makes.
By the way, do you do print for artworks?
I haven't yet. I'm exploring the idea.
Your artist is very good for that.
Yeah, I'm still trying to work out how I translate what I do into a print. I can't photograph my works and turn it into a print because of them being shiny.
Photograph resin. That was my question to you, because I use resin, and it gives you to catch them, like, or you need to.
So difficult to capture my work, and actually, so many people, when they've seen my work on Instagram and then they see it in real life, and they're almost like blown away by it, because I do my best at capturing it on camera. I do videos. I try and get the light so that you can see. In fact, I'm going to show you one more piece because it's a good one to show you. This is one of the darker
Covering.
So this piece here. So sometimes when you photograph it, it just looks like a massive black.
We can see a reflection of another painting, so we can see your silhouette.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then when you get up close and you get the light on it, then suddenly you see like a whole other dimension to these pieces. There's almost like a 3D quality to them, where you can see the amount of layers in the piece, and trying to translate that.
With or there's like some external light.
Sorry, the signal's not so good. What did you ask? Sorry.
You photograph your artworks, so you don't see any reflection or flash.
You know what? I think if you look at my photos, normally, if you look hard enough, you will see some reflection. I do have a photographer that I use sometimes to take professional shots. But sometimes when you take away the light in the room so that you're not getting that reflection, you don't get the same quality of light. Oh, sorry. Right. We just put you back on the tripod. So I think you almost need the light on them for them to come to life. And sometimes I think it's quite nice to see the reflection in the paintings as well. I think especially when you're seeing yourself within the painting, you almost become part of the artwork with it. You're almost submerged in that color and that environment. So I think it can be quite nice sometimes to see that reflection in photos. Tell me more about your work. How has it been for you in lockdown? Have you created anything new?
My studio at home, so one of my kids come every day and do something. So I'm glad to your and so my series were finished, so I was ready for the show. But now my collection is expanding because I have more time to create. I also created some artworks to hang in my house, something also like abstract. And I continue doing my Lost Planet series. So it's about the environment, about our planet and the ecological issues it is facing nowadays, because especially now we can see the impact of climate change on our planet. I think especially lockdown, we can see how our planet is rejuvenating.
I know, and
I'm really support artists that use recyclable or recycled materials in their art. Like what I notice, you're also an eco-friendly person. Like you use, I think, a recycled acrylic sheet for your.
Yeah. So with all of my works, I call it my canvas, but it's not a canvas in a traditional sense. It is 100% recycled and recyclable, which makes it a sustainable material, and it's a sheet. And there's actually only one company in the whole of the world that supplies this acrylic sheet. There are thousands of companies that supply standard acrylic sheet, but not recycled, which baffles me. So when I first started looking into it, I thought there would be a selection of companies, but no, there's only one company at the moment. And I think it's one of these issues that we've all got a responsibility for. And I think, you know, it's a global problem. Climate change is a global problem.
We want eco-friendly, but art, it's like lots of chemicals, like same fashion, but all it's all chemicals. So same as resin as a material as well. So how can we be more sustainable?
Sustainable, and I think if we each take responsibility, and if everybody in the world even just made a few changes in their life, whether it's with their work, with their personal life, with how they consume, with what they're buying, and be a little bit more conscious about these things, there would be such a dramatic effect on the world. I do think this period that we're going through at the moment has brought us together globally though, and it does show us that when we need to, we can come together on this. The sad thing is that the virus is such an immediate, you know, it needs attention immediately, and everyone can see the effects of it. With climate change, I think it's almost like people are blind to it and they don't always see what is actually happening. And it's like, oh yeah, but it's fine. It's not going to happen in my lifetime. You know, it's something
exactly.
So, but it's not.
The majority they don't care about the future generations. Oh, it's enough. What enough air for my life? How long would I live? But
exactly,
yeah, I think it's so important to really think about the future.
Absolutely. And like I say, if we even just individually make some changes, I'm not saying that you have to completely change your lifestyle for this, but if we all, as you know, worldwide made some small changes, we'd see a big difference, as we are at the moment. The planet is healing itself right now. We can do it when we need to do it. So.
Yeah, like what would you recommend to our viewers? Like what can they do in their daily life to be more sustainable?
I think it's have a look at how you're consuming. Look at where the things that you're buying, whether it's art materials, whether it is things in your daily life, your food, your clothes. You should see where they're coming from, how they're being produced. The information is there if you look for it. It might not be put under your nose, but if you look for it, it is there. So for the canvases that I have made, so or boxes as I sometimes call them, I use a UK company. They are 5 minutes down the road from my new studio. They're a small business, and I like to support small businesses in the UK. I mean, we're all guilty of buying things on Amazon and not necessarily.
It's crazy. Today I ordered something for my art, and it's such a small, tiny piece, but the box it was delivered in, it was just humongous size. It's just ridiculous. Like, I love Amazon, but I hate it at the same time because how much packaging they use, it is unnecessary.
It is unnecessary. So, it's definitely going to be something they're going to have to address very soon. I also think lockdown has been really interesting with food. So where people have started buying more locally, they're buying from smaller producers, UK producers, because we desperately need to support these small businesses for our economy to survive, for these businesses to survive. So even people are becoming more conscious about how we consume food, fashion. You know, I've seen so many videos on Instagram during lockdown of people upcycling their clothes. Everyone's doing these tie-dye
Yeah,
t-shirts where they're taking old t-shirts that
exactly.
might have ended up in the bin or the charity shop, and they're
So you
bringing
give a
it
second
back.
life to your clothes.
Exactly. And I think this is the thing with art as well. Even people that aren't necessarily, or maybe not have even turned their hand to art before, they can actually look at, like, okay, what have I got in my house? What could I use as a material? I saw on Saatchi Gallery the other day, Gavin Tuck, a British artist, had shown how you can create a collage from old magazines you might have at home. And
Yep.
it's simple ideas, but like, how amazing to create something during lockdown that you can then hang on your wall and remember this poignant moment in time through something you created.
I think, yeah, during lockdown, yeah, people started doing things they never done before. For example, I started meditating. I meditate every day and I love it. Yeah, and thank God we can create at our homes. But also, I think we realize that we are over consuming. We used to buy too much unnecessary things, like too much fashion, too much food. Like there is so much. We don't need that much, and I think now we come to realization. And I hope that this situation will change something in our consumer behavior.
Absolutely. I think it has to. I think it already has. And I think it's almost like we've hit a little bit of a reset button. And I think now, I think so many people have enjoyed this time in so many ways. Obviously, there's been some horrible situations for people. And but if we were to look at the positives, I think so many people will take so much from this. It's almost been like a practice run of how you can live your life. And I really hope that people continue with that mindset.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I know you've got
So
the same viewpoints as well on this. So yeah.
yeah, so I'm happy to meet another eco-friendly person.
Yeah, likewise. And you're based in London, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm based in London, and hopefully we will catch up in person once the lockdown is finished.
Absolutely, I'd love to, and you're welcome to come and visit my studio and
That
see
would be
what works in
great.
the flesh. Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to see live your artworks because they look fabulous on Instagram. But yeah, I love colors myself because when I saw your art, I'm like, yeah, I feel close, you know, I feel, yeah. And you also
Yeah.
use, I also use LED lights in some of my artworks. And then I saw this connection. You also use it in your light boxes.
Yeah, because I think light has an ability to elevate.
It froze for me at least. Hello. Not.
Hello, am
Lost.
I back?
Okay, yeah, you are back. Thank God. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah,
I don't know what happened.
I do wall hanging fragments and I do light box fragments, and with those they're lit from inside, and because the resin I use has a transparency to them, the light travels through,
Yeah.
and you can also change the light color, so you almost have different artworks within one artwork. So if you change it to a blue light, it will change the tones in the painting.
Oh yes, exactly.
Yeah, the lights also are sound sensitive, so they respond to music.
So
And like,
it's
yeah,
yeah.
what I was saying before about, especially at times like this where we are looking to things like music, and I also think scent is another thing that I've really been noticing recently. In my hallway, I have a scent diffuser that I actually had when I was on a table when I was exhibiting at the Saatchi Gallery, and every time I walk past it at home, it takes me back instantaneously to that moment.
So you have that fond memories.
You have that memory, and I do think there's something I would like to explore that idea at some point of incorporating scent, because I've got so many senses going on, sound, sight.
I think it's something special between the combination of music, sound, and color all together.
Absolutely.
Because also, like, you use chromology, yes, it's like how color affects your brain, because we all perceive color in our certain way depending on the personality and our mood, emotions, where we are coming from.
Absolutely. And where a color might mean something to me, it might mean something completely different to somebody else. And
I love everything colorful. I like bright colors. Some people, they like everything black or something monotonous. So everything is so personal.
Totally. And people sometimes ask me, well, what were you feeling? What's the meaning behind your art? And I will tell them, but like, it's totally open to interpretation. I want people to feel what they feel from it, not what I'm telling them to feel.
Because everybody would feel something different.
Exactly. And that's amazing that somebody might feel a completely different way towards a painting than I would.
So like when you create a new artwork, how do you choose the color scheme? Like, is it based on your emotions at that particular day, or do you plan it?
Sometimes I have an idea. Like at the moment, I've become obsessed with ultramarine blue. I think I'm not entirely sure where it's come from.
It is so funny because I ordered this color.
Did you?
Like recently, it just arrived a few days ago, and I want to make a huge artwork for my home with ultramarine blue.
That's so funny. We've got a patio downstairs, and I've painted the wall that like that Eve Klein blue. I've just become, I don't know whether it's things like, I'm looking out the window now, and we've had these glorious blue skies recently.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Also, when like blue's been around a lot at the moment because we associate it with the NHS heroes, and I just think it's a calming color, it's a healing color, and I think it's so
like for you it's associated with NHS. For me, it's associated with the ocean.
Yeah, it's
like the same color, but everybody have their own associations with that. It means different.
Sometimes I might know what color I want to paint with. Like what you were just saying, and I want to do a piece just using this kind of ultramarine blue tones. Other times I'll paint a piece, and it's only when I kind of look back on it, I know where that's come from. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's because I was going through that, or I was relating it to that, or it might have been somewhere that I've traveled to that's had an impact on me. I tend to go with it. Also, it takes me, weeks, if not months, to paint a large-scale painting.
So how long? How like it takes sometimes a couple of months to finish one.
Yeah. So resin takes a long time
to cure.
So you have to allow downtime in between each layer, which means that it is a slow process. It's a slow practice, which I love. And the painting can evolve throughout that time. So where I might have an idea at the beginning, I might change the path somewhere along the way. And I never know when it's going to finish. And sometimes I just know, I'm like, okay, it's done now. Other times I have to live with it for a couple of weeks and see whether or not it's done. Does it need something else? So yeah, there is this like evolution through my work.
But why did you choose resin? And because there is so many resin artists out on Instagram, it's so difficult.
It's become a really popular,
to be different.
Yeah. So when I started out, I knew that color was definitely going to be a thing for me, and then it was trying to hit on that medium that gave me that intensity of color, which you do get with resin, because it's so luminous and it really reflects the light. It really intensifies the colors, especially the bright colors, like in the piece behind me. So I played around with a few different mediums, and then
so you tried oil paints and acrylics.
I tried acrylics and watercolors. I even tried like with playing around with fabrics, trying to relate it back to my fashion, which I do think I will go back to at some point. But then I'd seen some YouTube videos, I'd seen things on Instagram. I'd come across a German artist called Zimmerman who does incredible works with resin, and amongst other artists, there's so many out there doing so many innovative things with resin. But what's so great about it is there are so many ways to use it. So some people will mix colors in a pot and pour it. Some people will paint with it. Some people
you use a brush. Yes,
I use a brush because a lot of people ask me, how do you create the shapes? How does it not just fall everywhere?
Exactly.
I do use a brush to control it.
But do you mask it off?
No, I don't. The thing with resin, for anyone that wants to try it, give it a go. It's like, I keep describing it like nail varnish. So nail varnish, if you were to pour it, it's going to go everywhere. But when you've got a brush and you paint your nail, you can keep within a perimeter and a shape. When I first started out, I used to plan my paintings more. I think this was initially probably from a lack of confidence. That is, I think anyone starting out with a new medium that so I used to plan what I was doing, and I would have a line engraved onto the canvas that I used to follow, and then with more and more practice you become more comfortable with it. It's like with anything. It's like with playing the piano. The first time I ever played the piano, it's like and then with practice, confidence and growth, you evolve. And I really think I have mastered my technique now. But it has taken hours and hours, days, years of living, breathing resin. Honestly, it's like the amount of, I go to bed every night thinking about resin and how I can make it even better. How can I take it to another level? I mean, I'm working on something new at the moment that I'm not going to give too much away, but something new with some pigments that I will be showing if the show goes ahead with starts. I will be showing these.
Maybe you should start making your own pigments.
I would. Do you know what? This is something I would really like to do. So my fiance said to me the other day, we love having lilies in the house. Again, it's this thing going back to scent. We love the smell of lilies in the house. And he was throwing them away the other day. And he's like, oh, it's so sad to throw these flowers away. And he could see the
the stems. The color is very intense.
Did you not do something with making it a pigment? So.
And it will be natural.
And it would be natural. So it's definitely something. It's one of those ideas that's ticking away inside.
So and maybe next time we will talk, and you will talk, and you're about to launch your brand.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Why not?
Pigments.
So what about you and the mediums that you use?
You know, I use mixed media. I love to experiment, so I love resin myself, and I experiment with resin. I love spray paint. I use acrylics, sometimes oil. I use a lot of sand. So it depends on the artwork. So I use stones, I use dry flowers, I use fermented moss. So some of my recent artworks, like this is a wall sculpture. Let me show you. This is my recent artwork. It's desert. So this is chrome. Yes, and fiberglass.
I love gold.
Yeah, we both love colors. Again, your picture got frozen for some moment. Are you coming back? Yeah, still, I don't know, for me, your picture is still frozen. Busy time on Instagram, I think.
Back.
I don't know. Hello. Yeah, let's wait till Nat is back with us. Wait, what's happening? Okay.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, you're back.
Oh no.
And now again, disappearing. What's
Can you
happening?
hear the technology?
Yep, I think it's yeah, now lots of traffic on Instagram. Too many. I think maybe people doing live at this particular moment. Okay, let's wait till Nat is back. Hi. Let's wait. Let's turn on the comments. Not. Oh, let me maybe add you again. Let me add you again. Let's add Nat again. Maybe the connection will be better.
Hello.
Okay, yes, we should have done this
I've just moved to
before.
another part of the room to see if it's my internet.
Yeah, maybe it's internet. Yeah, now it's much better.
Good. Sorry, I don't know where we've got to there before it cut off.
Yeah, me neither. I lost.
I was saying that I love gold. I frame.
Ah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so let me show you on one of the fragments because I've actually got my artist name on the side of the fragment as well. But I like to use.
So is it a mirror, gold mirror?
Yeah, so it's mirrored. So like,
Oh.
you can see the state of my phone case. It's always covered in resin.
So someone helps you to fabricate the light boxes, or
yeah, the company that I mentioned before, there is a small fabricators. They're based very near my studio. Great group of people, and they've really helped me develop this idea. It's taken a long time to get it to this point, especially with the light boxes, to be able to accommodate the lights without.
So you can't see the.
Exactly. So you can't see any support inside. So it's taken a lot of trial and error and a lot of development to get to this point. But that's part of the process, isn't it? And now that I think it's important as an artist to keep on evolving, keep developing ideas, keep learning new techniques.
Again, freezing.
I don't think it would feel very fulfilling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, you're back.
Keep losing you.
Okay, let's wrap it up. I think before I lose you completely.
Yeah. It's been so lovely to talk with you, and I would
thank you so much for your time. It was really interesting to see your art. And
thank you. Anybody that's interested in finding out more about what I do, I've got a website, natbowen.com. Check out my Instagram at natbowen.com. If anyone's got any questions that we might have missed, drop me a message. I'm happy to answer anything. And please come and see my next show whenever it may be.
Perfect. You keep us updated what's happening and when is your next show, and I would love to come and see your studio.
And I'd love to come and see your work too.
Amazing. Thank you, Nat.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Have a great day.
Everyone. Enjoy the sunshine.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, guys, so we had a great chat with fabulous Nat. I hope you enjoyed it. I wish you to have a fabulous day, and I will keep you updated with my next artist talk. someone very, very interesting and very famous, I would say, very important artist. I'm sure you know about him. I can only tell you it's him, not her. So I will keep it as a surprise. Yes, Julia is asking who is next. Follow my stories and my next artist talk. See you. Have a fabulous day. Enjoy sunshine if you're in London. Have a great day. Love you. Mwah.